Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts Brandon, Collin, and Aaron. On this week's show, two ponies, as recorded with bad internet and a different microphone. It's still fun. Enjoy.
Hello.
Hello.
What's going on?
Oh, just getting some stuff set up for class tomorrow.
Oh,
I got home not that long ago. Had to do some errands and get some stuff situated before before this, and so I had to come out and get ready for school and to get all this done. So I'm just kind of getting stuff organized, getting reestablished or reacclimated, and should be good to go here in a little bit. So what are you all up to?
what are you learning in class? What are you teaching in class? Unless you're learning too, and then you can relay that.
So this week we're finishing up with world religion, basics and kind of like introduction to like Islam and kind of what that means in like today's culture and society, and kind of how it relates to these kids. And then with history, finishing up with some ancient civilizations, the Incas, and then we got a test next week, so getting ready for that. So I'm just kind of reading.
Woohoo, testing.
Yeah. I haven't been able to do a test in a while because every time I get one scheduled, they're all like, "Oh, this is a half day," or "Oh, we have an assembly," or "Oh, we're doing this today." And so I just had to keep pushing tests back. And so
Nice.
I partially feel a little bad because I'm doing like 2 to 3 units like all in one. So I'm like, it's fine. So
Yeah, it's the worst that could happen.
yeah. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm actually pretty excited. My kids are pretty excited to finally see what they're made of. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Full practice was a little bit long. Had to go get Shelby's car and do some more adventuring. And back got like 20 minutes ago, so I'm good to go.
Nice. On time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Brandon?
I want to know why you sound bizarre. Did I miss that when I was clicking the 75 prompts of, yes, I do really want to join the meeting. Yes.
I am doing a remote recording, and I have allergies. So my voice, I'm plugged up, and I'm in a new room, and I have a... So the thing is I bought a new computer because my old one was old and it was not functioning. So I bought a new one. However, the ports that my computer have, I cannot plug my microphone into. And so, without bringing like a massive adapter that requires, because I was like, oh, sweet. Well, I'll just get this like little dock. So I have a dock, but the dock requires power. And then and then I don't have that. I just have my computer, so I'm using earbuds to do this, and I'm in a room and I'm sick. So if I sound all like, ooh,
man, the trifecta.
Let me get under. Let me get here. Do I sound any better if I'm like this?
Better is not the right word.
Any better? Okay, better is not the right word.
For a brief second, you sounded better.
Okay. I put a blanket over my head.
When you were on your way into the blanket, it sounded better. And then when you were under it, it sounded worse again. So that's a really confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Okay.
So anyway, I am
fort around me.
Sweet. I'm recovering from the longest week in the history of the universe, also known as Parent-Teacher Conference Week. So I'm dying over here.
Oh no!
We had Parent-Teacher parent-teacher conferences Monday and Tuesday. And today was our like celebration for the end of first quarter, like positive behavior thing. So like,
Okay. Nice.
So like, yeah. So we did parent teacher conferences Monday and Tuesday. So that means I had to stay at school till 7:00, which is fun and exciting. And all the parents came, and it was great fun, except for one that yelled at us, but that's fine.
Oh no!
And then,
what did you?
Yeah, we did all that. It's apparently my fault when your student doesn't ever turn their work in. So it's fine.
I understand. Nice.
Yeah, but other than that, it was all right. And so that was Monday and Tuesday. And then today was because of our PBIS thing, which, as past listeners will know, I don't actually remember what it stands for. We I think it's Positive Behavior Intervention Supports ? I'm bad at acronyms. They just don't say the full thing ever, so I don't know. But like, if they've met expectations and met certain goals, they get to go on a reward trip, right? It's kind of like a thing. So today was the day, and we went to the corn maze. Dun dun dun. So I broke my streak of never going to a corn maze. However, I did not go in the corn maze, so I feel like we're still going to count it. We're still going to count my streak as intact because I did not enter the corn maze. So
which corn maze?
This is went to the one in Exeter, right? And apparently, it's okay. I was not expecting this whole thing. It's like a theme park, right? Like buildings, stuff, and like games and activities and stuff. It's crazy. I was unaware.
Oh my gosh!
Altogether, that this was such a thing, right? It's like not all the stuff was open today because it was just like for field trips. There was a couple other schools there, but there wasn't that many kids, so it was pretty nice. And so we got to go around and just kind of be outside all day. It was kind of cool. The kids were like a little confused because like all we could like, wait, do we have to like go around in groups? And we're like, no, you're in 6th grade. We're gonna turn you loose. And they're like, are you sure? Really? And a couple of them I was like, should I not? Is there something you're not telling me? And they're like, no, it's fine. So yeah, they had a lot of fun, I think. The corn maze phenomenon itself still confuses me. Like, I don't really understand the point. So, as still not going inside, I guess I won't understand. But like, for those listeners, maybe listening outside the Midwest or perhaps abroad, a corn maze is exactly what it sounds like. Some people grow a giant field of corn and then create a maze inside of it to navigate. And for some reason during Halloween there's like a spooky section where like you go at night and like people jump out and pretend to murder you, which is a plan, I guess. I don't know why you would want to do that, but whatever.
Scary.
So yeah, it's a really popular thing, and I don't understand why. I don't see the appeal of wandering through a maze of corn. And today I realized that I'm a little upset with the term corn maze now. I feel like there has been a giant missed opportunity to call it a maze. Right? Why is it not called a maze?
This is where I'll put the cricket sound.
No, it should be called a maze. Dang it! That would be so much better.
No, it's too. No, it's not.
So this is a missed opportunity.
No.
This is a misbranded thing. I think somebody should call theirs the maize. It's so much better. I love it. I can see the shirt now.
Well, there you go.
Right,
well,
the alliteration's beautiful for marketing.
This is the kind of quality help you get from the Oh Brother marketing group. You can get this kind of wonderful feedback about.
Well, like it was kind of
everything.
Right? So they have little barn things, right? So like the open sides on a bunch of them. There's just like stuff in them, and like there's one that had like some hay swings, but like mini hay swings, and like some paintball, but it was like a shooting gallery, but it was like paintball guns, like drilled to the thing so you couldn't shoot your friends, which is good. Like basketball hoopy thing, like the arcade basketball game where you just like you shoot it rolls back down the ramp to you and you shoot it again. They had one of those. They had a distressingly large pit of just corn kernels, and I don't really know what you're supposed to do with it. Like little kids were like in it, and that was kind of weird. I didn't really know why.
Well, so I will say so not to interrupt your story here, I'm gonna let you finish. But we took the kids to a corn maze. We went during the day, and it was a very, very simplistic corn maze, which is very good. The kids had never experienced that. And they'd always asked about walking in the cornfield because we have a lot of corn around us. And so it was actually really nice to be able to go and see what things were and go touch them, talk about them. But from the corn that they had harvested to make the maize, they had then also dumped them in a giant pit. But then, and this is the genius part, they had placed a slide at one end. So you could slide down into the corn kernels. And I'm not saying it was a lot of fun, but I went down the slide a couple times.
I'll take your word for it. This place had a big slide, but it wasn't into the corn. It was like a separate attraction. So there was like a slide.
Oh, interesting.
And a pit of corn. So like it was like a big 2-story slide thing. It was kind of cool, right? But yeah, the kids had a lot of fun. And so that's all that matters. I think if we would have been there much longer, they would have started to been like kind of bored now. But like but as a 6th grader who gets to wander around free range for a while, they did pretty good. So
it's exciting.
Yeah. But good gravy. Am I exhausted? And I still have to go. We get Friday off, but I have to go back tomorrow. No. So.
Oh, no.
Yes. It's terribly long. So, yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. Parent teaching and being around way too much corn.
Way too much corn. I don't think that's
way too much corn.
Have too much corn.
Oh, you can. Trust me. Too much corn. So what are you doing? Why are you remoting?
I am currently house sitting a dog.
Wow.
And yes, house sitting a dog. Interestingly, they wanted him to sleep here, and then during the day to take him to our house for daycare. So in the daytime, he's at our house, but then he comes home to sleep, and we come with him. And he sleeps
very odd.
And he sleeps in his kennel with his classical music playing and his sleepy time treats and the white noise machine that plays in the other room.
Oh. Dude, what?
Okay. He's
wow.
Yeah. very good dog. There's a lot, but he is a good dog. Tonight is the last night that he gets to do that. We are doing this. And then tomorrow I go to another house to do house sitting. For a different dog, Gracie. We have previously recorded an episode on her back porch while there was the escaped convict running loose.
Yes.
If we can think back to that.
I wonder what episode that was. But yes, I recall this.
Sometime around the 4th of July.
Yeah, I think it was fireworks.
Because there were also fireworks. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So we're here. He's good. It's fine. We have been doing the chickenpox thing at home. I don't know if did I tell you guys that?
Oh, how exciting!
Yeah. That was pretty fun. And I guess did I send you that funny joke? That probably didn't make any sense. Okay, yeah. So when she said I'm eating chicken pox, that's because she has chicken pox, and she thought it was funny.
That is an important context that I did not understand. I was like, those are just popcorn chicken. I don't understand what you're talking about. Yes. So just her or both?
Just her for now. And we're just watching Noah and waiting to see. Hers are weird. She has when I remember getting them, they were like little red bumps all over my body, right? Like, am I misremembering that?
Okay.
Hers are not little tiny red bumps. Like, she still has bumps, but they're more spread out and there's fewer of them, but they still itch. They still came in. They're healing over now. But she wasn't like I've seen kids with chicken pox that are like literally covered from their scalp to their toes. And she has probably like 40 on her body, maybe 40.
That's how mine was. I remember because mine was relatively like chill like that. I had them and they itched like mad, but I did not have as many as you did because I remember you basically looking like a polka dotted mess. And I was like, yo, mine weren't that bad. Even when I was like a little, I was like, I didn't get them that bad. I don't know what's happening here.
Dang.
So I had them, and I do remember them being awful, but like mine weren't.
Yeah.
Completely. I feel like my arms and my chest the most. I mean, if I had them on my legs too, but like that's the part I remember the most. So that's interesting.
Well, good. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. Because again, like she has them and they are, they're numerous, but not like I remember being just absolutely covered. So that's interesting. But she did really well with them, like really, really well. Didn't scratch them very much, has let them, do the scabbing over thing. And we've been doing, calamine lotion, which is good because she likes it that it's pink, right? Because she likes pink. So we can use the pink calamine lotion.
Yeah.
And then she already liked.
You can sing the song from Boy Scout camp. I believe there's a song about that.
Oh no! Do I know that one? I think I know that one.
I don't know. I just seem to recall that there was one. Anyway, oatmeal baths.
Okay,
she can be like
an
oat in the meal.
She does. She likes oatmeal baths, so that made it pretty easy. And I think we're pretty much on the downhill of it. We'll see how it progresses. And then the only thing that really I noticed with her, and this is what really cued me into it, because I was like, at first I thought it was because we've had biting midges around town recently. I don't know if you guys have had that at this time, but everybody's talking about them. They're a big problem. And so at first I thought, oh, these things that I'm seeing on her legs, those might just be bites, because I have them on my arms too. But then I noticed that her lymph nodes on the back of her neck were huge and very tender to the touch. And so And I was like, this isn't normal. And that's probably the only thing that has been more discomforting to her, was that the lymph nodes on the back of her neck were tender. That bothered her more than the itching and the actual pox.
That's crazy. Wow. Aaron, do you remember your chicken pox experience?
No, because I was too little.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of me, and although I looked adorable because I had red hair, the red chicken pox looked atrocious. I honestly don't remember them, but I remember hearing like Mom and Mimi telling me that I had them. So I always I'm like, oh yeah, I had them because they told me. So I don't physically remember me having chicken pox, or anything of the kind. I've definitely had poison ivy and poison oak before. As far as like red rashy goes, I cannot express to you how fun it was to go to school with like my arm wrapped in some sort of cloth with some goo and pantyhose. Yeah, that was a fun experience. But yeah, I don't remember.
Really exciting.
I had chicken pox. I just don't remember having chicken pox.
Okay. Yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember you being quiet. I was in first grade. I remember. That's about all. But I do have a vague memory of a very small Aaron. So maybe you got him at the same time as Collin did. That would explain that. I don't know. But yeah, that's not a lot of fun, Collin. Very sorry to have.
No, it's okay. And we're well. Again, we're just kind of waiting for Noah. And apparently it can take up to like a week before the sibling can show some signs and symptoms. But also a kid is transmissible 1 to 2 days before they show any signs. So it's like, how do we just hold back Noah from school until he shows symptoms, or how do we navigate this? Because I don't want to keep him out for up to 3 weeks with this, but also I don't want to be sending him to school not knowing when the day is going to be and then be like, oh, it was yesterday. So
yeah, true. Oh, yes. The fun times.
It has brought up an interesting point of conversation that really grosses Megan out. So smallpox is like, it's a pox, so it's like all the other poxes from the world. And so smallpox, right? So smallpox is a derivative of it. And do you know? I told this to Megan, and she was like, "That's utterly disgusting." I was like, I know. Do you know what some of the earliest forms of vaccines were against smallpox?
Alcohol.
Nope.
It was like straight up exposing them to the smallpox, like stuff, like the excretion. Yes.
Sure, well, true, but they would also harvest the scabs of the pox off of people and then either eat it or grind those into dust and have them snort it.
That's very distressing. And I can fully understand why Megan is put off by this, because that is horrid. And
I know. I was like, isn't that disgusting?
Megan, I do not blame you for being greatly distressed by this knowledge.
She's like, please don't tell me that anymore. Yeah.
So you say it every day, don't you? Like,
I go
while she's eating ground up things. Like, hey, guess what?
Look at those little scabs on your daughter. People used to eat those. That's what I do.
Why?
So it's been a fun week.
Oh yeah, sure, definitely. Blah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So other than that, it's been good. The moon is beautiful these days. I don't know if you got to look at the moon. It's big. Okay. No, fine. Whatever. I
don't want to be outside anymore today. I'm over it.
Sorry.
So we had homecoming last week. Last week was a 3-day weekend, or was a 3-day week at school, which I did not know about until Monday of last week, because I had my whole lesson plan, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, we don't have school Friday," and I'm like, "Sorry, what's that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's fall break." So we had homecoming. Which again, I didn't know any of the days. Like, I didn't know, like, oh, on this day we're wearing like red, white, and blue. So I show up wearing like orange, and then they're like, "You're not supposed to wear that." And I was like, "Well, I didn't know. I'm sorry." I forgot how like homecoming like parades and stuff in a small town of kind of how like neat they are. So we had homecoming Thursday, which we didn't have school that day, so it was kind of just like a weird day in general. And Shelby and her mom came down, and I noticed I do something in class where if I need to get the kids' attention, I do this quick little kind of whistle. So like just to get the kids' attention, and they sit there, and so at the game. It's like 7:00. Game's about to start. I'm getting things set up, and I keep hearing this. It's like, what the heck is that sound? And I turn around, and our father is standing behind the bleachers, just sitting there with the biggest smile on his face. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad!" But then I sat there and I was like, "Oh, that's where I get that from." Or dad was on the tractor or whatever growing up, and he'd be like, "Hey, go over there." That's where I get that from. And so Dad,
as soon as you said that, I went, "Oh, that's Dad."
Dad got to meet Shelby's mom for the first time, and they had a blast. Of course, Dad didn't stay the whole game because he had like a 12-hour drive home. But I was sitting there and I was talking with one of my students, and they're like, "Coach, someone's doing your whistle." I'm like, "I beg your pardon," and I turned around and there's Dad. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And so the rest of our week was pretty chill.
It's actually his whistle.
And they looked at me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, is that your dad? It looks like you." And I'm like, "Shut up! No, it doesn't. You can shut up. Go away, kids." Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. That was kind of the highlight of my last week. So yeah, we got a district game this Friday. That's, knock on wood, supposed to be easy. Next week definitely is not going to be easy. But the week after that, if we win 2 district games, we'll be in the playoffs. So that is what we are hoping for. But I am definitely ready for football season to be over. I'm so tired. So
yeah, I bet.
I'm just waiting for football season to be over, and so I can actually like come home at a decent time and relax and get stuff done. So I'm not like having to lesson plan while I'm podcasting. So if you hear me scribbling or muttering under my breath, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, yeah,
Gotcha.
That's fine. No worries.
Quick sidetrack or side question, Collin. For doggos, our upstairs neighbor leaves their dog at home pretty much in a crate like all day, and they don't get home till late. And this dog just like howls. Yeah. You can kind of hear in the background every once in a while. Is there anything that we should do to help? Should we like notify the apartment people or like talk to this guy? Because you can hear it from the parking lot sometimes.
Yeah, I would talk to the owner. Just let them know, because they have no idea what their dog does when they leave. And then, but you need to offer either a solution or some advice. You can get lick mats, you can get puzzles, you can get calming things for the dog. They can put a cover over the crate. We have a lot of people who do that. They put a cover, so it's kind of like a canary, right? It's like, ooh, if I can't see the world, it's not there, so I'll just go to sleep. And then there's obviously you could do medications. You could have them watch the TV with white noise playing. There's a lot more environmental things, and then there is the hiring somebody to come over in the middle of the day to take the dog for a walk, to get out a lot of energy. But there are a lot of things to do, and then just like it sounds like they're not quite crate trained. So that's a process of making sure that they are actually used to it and that it is a positive place for them. But there's environmental stuff that they should probably make sure they address first before they move into the other training. Because he may be surprised, like, oh, if I leave white noise on, or if I leave the TV on, it's fine. But then, like, sometimes that doesn't work. So it's howling over the midday news. So you're like, okay, well, now I've got to do something else. But it could just be bored, or it could be need energy out. I would talk to the owner first if you're comfortable with that, because they have no idea. Or you may be surprised. You could just approach it by saying, "Hi, I'm your neighbor downstairs, and did you know that your dog howls a lot in the middle of the day?" Or, "Hi, I'm your neighbor downstairs. Does your dog like being in the kennel?" Maybe a better one, just so you can gauge. So if they're like, "Oh, he absolutely loves it. He has no problem at all," then you can be like, "I hate to break it to you." Or if they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I know he hates it," you can be like, "Yeah, we noticed. Have you thought about doing, treats or a puzzle or something like that?"
Neat, because yes, I mean, I think I don't even know if they're home right now. We saw lights on when we got back, and the lights were on, and sure enough, that dog was a howling. So, I just thought about interacting with them, either just like leaving a note like, "Hey, your dog howls during the day, just wanted to let you know," because our schedule's offset, and I don't want to just go up there and knock and cause that dog to stir up when I don't want it to. And so I'll just think, picking your brain to see if there's any ideas or how you would kind of handle the situation. I call myself a people person, but then I'm like, I actually hate people, and I don't want to talk to anybody if I have to. That's kind of where I was kind of on the fence with it, and just got to see what you would recommend.
Yeah. No, I mean, those things, sounds like it might also have some separation anxiety. And it's separation anxiety mixed with improper crate training is a lot. There are a lot of anxieties that go into that. I mean, they kind of build on each other, because the dog is like anxious that you left, and now the dog is anxious that you locked them in a little tiny room. But crate training is one of the best things you can do, and is really good for the dog. So yeah, I think working on having them work on things like exercising, or again, like before you put them in, like that's another big thing that a lot of people don't do, is they don't get them worn out. They get up in the morning, they go pee, and then they come back in and put them in the crate, and then the dog sits for 9 hours until they come home. Well, they really need to get the dog and take a 30-45 minute walk with them. So maybe you just need to offer to be their dog walker. I think this is what this is turning into. Yes. So, Brayden, you're just joining us. Aaron is becoming a dog walker for his upstairs neighbor, and we're good to go. We are talking about chapter 4 and 5 from the book The Outsiders. You can go back and listen to previous episodes on Wed Women Week and time elongated itself to see chapters 2 and 3 and our first peek at chapter 1 and our thoughts about it. So there's a lot that builds up to us. But I'm going to say, last time that we said chapters 2 and 3 were my favorite chapters. I like chapter 4. Actually, I like these a lot more. They're definitely building.
Very action-y, right? It was not there was no like downtime really at all ever. It was just like
yeah. So last we left, we had left with the ominous phrase from our boy Pony, things got to get better. I figured they couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. Yep. He and Johnny go to the park, and they're found by drunk Socs, and they kind of have some words with each other.
Yeah, not many words. It was just kind of straight to scuffling, right? It was like a couple words, like, "Hey, punk," and then
like apparently being called
"I hate you,"
trash.
and then that was basically it.
Apparently being called white trash with long
hair,
is enough to pee. But Pony gets caught and pulled under and is being drowned in a fountain. Is that right? Fountain?
Yeah, there's like a fountain there that's for some reason in the autumn coldness. There's a big fountain there. It like an armbar and slams it underwater. I think that's what goes on here.
Yeah, and he comes to, and the Soc that was drowning him is lying on the ground behind him, and Johnny says, "I killed that boy," and they watch all the other Socs kind of run away, and they run for it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So we get the payoff to the foreshadowing about Johnny that like whole one chapter ago when he was talking about how he was going to carry a knife and he was not going to let anybody pick on him ever again. Ever. I'm never going to, well, he says something like, "I'm never going to let them do that to me again."
Mm-hmm.
It turns out he was true. Because he just stabbed that dude. And then they ran away. So, yeah. Now they're on the run.
They sure are. And it's interesting because, again, how old is Johnny in this? Do we remember how old Johnny's supposed to be? I don't.
He's older than Pony, I think. Right? Because Pony's only like 14, right?
Right. Yeah, he's 14. So I guess Johnny's only a couple of years older than he is. And yeah, at this point they run, and I understand why they run in the context of this story, but obviously in like the other part of my brain reading this, going, well, there's the thought of like, oh, you'll just say it's self-defense because that's what it was, but it's two greasers against the Socs, and then you've got to go, who's going to be believed by whom? By the cops. So, okay, I understand. That's why they ran.
Yeah, right. And then, yeah, just because with their prior experience with the police, with all the just random stuff they get up to, and then there's that like societal aspect of like, oh, well, I've never had a good experience with the police. So why would I stay here and try to defend myself to the police, right? Especially 1965-ish police, right? Which is when this was written. So, like, extra not going to be helpful.
This is true.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, there's some periods.
and I just looked it up on the wiki. And Johnny is 15. So there we go.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So not a whole lot older. And again, it's interesting to me because I'm reading this story and I don't get that they're 14 and 15. They both seem much, much older as written. But I don't know if that's they're from a different time. So this is just kind of what 14 and 15-year-olds behave like, because I look around me at 14 and 15-year-olds and go, yeah, nope, for something like this.
Well, I think part of it is I think some of it could be the time frame, but I think the other part of it too is they have had a lot of responsibility thrust upon them very early in life. So they act older, and they hang out with older people. Like every other mentioned greaser in the gang is older than them.
Right.
So they're all like 17, 18 and older, right? And then like early 20s. So I think part of that is just like they've kind of developed their personality based on the older influence, and then plus their life experiences have aged them somewhat. They have to act a certain way, they do certain things because of how their life is functioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a little of all of those things. Kind of, they do read as slightly older. I mean, Johnny does. Pony, you get mixed bag because he sometimes reads as older, and then sometimes he reads as 14. Like when he's in like daydream mode, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's younger and more vulnerable in those times, you know.
Yeah. And I think you're 100% right. So it is a little kind of removed from that time period and removed from the society that they are in as a way of what they've had to experience, see, and how they've had to survive the very different time. So I did have to keep reminding myself while I was reading of like, this is a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old. Like these are kids experiencing this. So let's see, it was kind of like, okay, let's see how that's going to play out. Like, are they going to continue to be like more adultish, or what kind of kid aspects are going to come into play? But I did appreciate whenever he said, we need money and a gun, maybe a plan. Money and a gun, a plan. Where in the world would we get those things? Dally. And so they go off to see their friend Dally.
Yes, that. Yeah, that's also the payoff. Very earlier, like who else did they get? Obviously, it's Dally. Like, duh. That's where they call me. Come on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Money, guns, and plans. And that's the thing, right? Like, they go and they find him. He's at some random dude's house. You get a brief, like, 2-sentence payoff of, like, oh, yep, that shepherd guy did beat him up that they were talking about at the movie theater, right? From, like, a chapter ago when they were talking about, well, Dally gets beat up, he deserves it. Well, Dally got beat up. And, he's hanging out. And they're like, this happened. And he goes, oh, snap, I'll be right back. And he brings him like $50 and a gun. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And actually takes really good care of them. Like really like very thoughtful as far as like extra clothes. Right. It's very interesting how quickly he comes up with this plan and how he equips them for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he had this plan in the back of his mind in case of emergencies just all the time. And he's like, oh, well, all right, here we go. So the plan is give them like, I think it's like $50, right? Which again, in $1965 is not an insubstantial amount of money to just have, when milk is like cents, $50 is like, that goes a long way,
Yeah.
And he tells them basically, all right, you're going to go to the rail yard. You're going to hop on this train. You're going to go to this town. You're going to get out and you're going to go to this abandoned church. And then you're going to wait for me there. And you're like, wait, what? Part of me is going, how do you know about this place? What is going on here?
That
so I'm curious if we ever hear about like why Dally knows about this church.
You're right. I was like, I am very curious to know if he may be from that area. He may be, or has hid out there before. So he's got, the connections. It'll be very interesting. For those of you who did the quick math in your head, 1965 to modern day has seen a 771% inflation rate. And so $50 is in modern times is something like $450 in current currency.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So
he's just like, yeah, I just got that. You're like,
yeah.
Because like now people have $50. Yeah, I guess so. That's very now you expect somebody to have $50.
Yeah,
that's not too out of, it's a little much to just be like in your pocket sometimes, but like he's just got it laying around, and the implication is there's more of that like just in his drawer somewhere. Like,
yeah, that was
good night, man. What the heck?
Yeah, we get to the train hopping, where we get a little bit of I don't know. He doesn't quite get the daydreaming just yet. I don't know. I guess he does a little bit where he falls asleep. But wait! I forgot to say.
Just dreaming only.
Just dreaming. I've got him back way up here because the moment he sees Dally, what are the first thoughts that run through his head? You remember this? This was beautiful. I love this. Okay. He starts trying to understand why Cherry loves him. He tries to figure out why Cherry had a thing.
Oh, yeah. That's what...
and it brought me back to going, okay, he's a 14-year-old. He's a 14-year-old because he's trying to figure out, we just accessory to a murder, and this guy's going to help me. And man, what did she see in you? I don't understand.
Like, Pony, this is an emergency. What are you talking about? Come on. I know. Stop it.
I had to make sure oh man, I did that. So, so then they start walking, right? And they're going to try and they're going to talk to a farmer if they need some help finding the mountain.
Yeah, because they didn't know exactly where they were going. So he puts on his little kid persona, right? He's like, "Oh, sir, we was just playing soldiers, and I'm supposed to meet up there. I don't know where it is." And then he's like, "All right, Johnny, it's over there. Like, let's go."
Mm-hmm.
So that was another he dipped into that little part of him. And he was all like, "Man, I lie good." Like, there was that little things like, why is lying so easy? Like, why did I?
Yeah.
Here's that little reflection moment there.
Yeah. As the farmer says, "Boys will be boys," and heads on. And he's like, "Oh, he kind of sounds like Hank Williams."
Oh, yeah. Who he hates, by the way. That's a very important part of this chapter is this. Pony does not like Hank Williams. That comes up multiple times.
Yes. So he's made an impact on him. And then he gets into the church, and there's some weird having gone to church, but Soda didn't go with him, and so he'd never gone back after he was kind of embarrassed by 2-Bit and Soda.
Yeah, because him and Johnny used to go, and then 2-Bit and Soda came, and they were being ridiculous, and he got embarrassed, and he didn't ever want to go back again. And then there's the part where it taught, right after that, right at the end of the chapter, he's like, "It gave me a creepy feeling. What do you call it? A premonition?" And so now you're like, crud. All right, well, here's some more foreshadowing for you, ladies and gentlemen. Something bad's going down here in the future.
And then we get into chapter 5, which I will also subtitle bologna sandwiches.
Yeah, the bologna sandwich chapter. That's true.
Yes.
So you can sing the Oscar Mayer song to yourself, right? Your bologna has a first name.
Yeah. But
this is kind of the introspective chapter. It's kind of the downtime chapter, right? Where
well, and he keeps. There's lots of daydreaming, or at least thinking about not necessarily alternative futures, but kind of very into this. I highlighted, maybe Dally had been killed or something, and no one would know I was up here, and I'd just die up here alone and turn into a skeleton. And even admits kind of like he has this chapter is a lot about his overactive imagination, thinking a lot about the worst and the what ifs and the what could be's.
I was going to mention that too. He does that whole thing. Like, what if this happens? What if like all forever? Especially when he wakes up and Johnny's gone.
It's gone, right?
Right, because Johnny's gone to go. Johnny's remembered. Oh yeah, we need groceries because we have to eat something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they disguise themselves because they cut their hair. And Pony is not a fan of haircuts. And bleaching his hair with peroxide. He is not enthusiastic. And I can only imagine like the visual of like what sort of haircut you can give somebody with a switchblade is not good. Like let's just
No, it's not pretty, you know. You're not going on a runway with it.
No.
But he talks about how it's their trademark. Like we couldn't have Corvairs or Madras shirts, but we could have our hair. And okay, this is really part of your identity here. And then John even mentions like it's one of the first things they'll do if we get caught is we're going to have to get it cut anyway. So we just need to cut it now.
That's true. Like Johnny is basically taking his own ownership. He's like, I don't want anyone else to cut my hair, so I'll do it. Right? That's kind of where he's at. He's in a slightly different place. He's just like, you know, he wants to take that. He doesn't want anybody else to take it from him. He'd rather give it up than have somebody take his hair, right? So
yeah. There's quite a lot of exposition here about hair, and again, just how mature Johnny is for thinking of to disguise them with the different haircuts, and then even the notes that he has in Pony has in here about, man, I'm really glad I'm here with Johnny because he remembered to get soap. No one else would have remembered soap.
That's true. Because they would have been other things. And then, you know, they move on, and then Johnny does have his own breakdown, though.
Oh,
you know, he like goes off on, I'm sorry I had to cut your hair, Pony, like all this stuff. And, you know, he kind of is wrestling with what he did. You know, he blurts out, like, I didn't mean to, but they was drowned in you, and I was so scared. You know, he goes through his own kind of thing. He has a breakdown a little bit too. So he's not like 100% stoic here, but
no, but then
he's going through it as well.
Yeah, well, the adrenaline's coming down, right? You've kind of done all you can. You're waiting, and now is when all these emotions are coming out.
Yeah,
and Pony snaps at him, going, "I'm not 13. I'm 14 for almost a month now, and I'm in it as much as you are." like, wow, like okay, that's kind of some strong words here. And then they kind of make up and they say, you know, we're not going to cry anymore, are we? You know, we're all cried out, and kind of like the resolution to that of like, okay, that part's done. Now we just have to get to whatever the next steps are. And I think to me, that's a weird spot to be in. The whole like run away and wait and going, okay, like I'm sitting here reading this thing like, okay, so, like, what's the next step? Dally's going to show up, and then what? Like, are you ever going to be able to go back? Like, what's the whole point in this? So it'll be interesting to see how this gets resolved.
That's true. But actually what's next is before any of that can happen, we have to have like reading time with Pony and Johnny where they're just like, yeah, we're going to read Gone with the Wind to pass the time. You're like, you're going to read what? Why? Why would you do that? So they start, there's a whole more like this weird, like, just a there's like a few pages of them talking about Gone with the Wind and like about how certain characters are heroic, and he's like, you know, it's weird now in like 2021 to hear Johnny be like, I bet them were some good guys. You're like, okay, anyway, you know, they remind me of Dally. They're all, you know, dashing and tough and everything, and charming. So what he says, gallant is the other word he uses. I found it here, and they start talking about all that, and they're relating members of the gang to with the wind characteristics, and then they start looking at the sun some more, and he quotes some Robert Frost poetry.
Yeah.
Like, you have that thing again where Johnny's the only one that understands him because I can't talk to like this with other guys and all that stuff. But yeah, he quotes the "nothing gold can stay," which
everyone knows that one. No, everyone knows the "nothing gold can stay." But Johnny says, I guess we're different. And Pony says, shoot, maybe they are. And this is that bit. I've had those thoughts too of like, who really is different? And again, that's this whole book is really structured around who and what is different, and how do our preconceived notions come into defining that, and then do we even recognize it in ourselves? And this whole like, no, they're the ones that are different. As he blew a perfect smoke ring, like, okay, that's a bit pretentious if we're being honest about this. But we've all had those thoughts, right? Like it's not an abnormal thought to have had.
And that's what like a high school student. That's how high school students think. That's like straight out of the high school student brain is. We're not different. They're different. I'm the normal. You know what I mean? That's like a very pervasive thought for 14, 15, 16-year-old people to have. It's not out of touch, really. So it does play quite well for their character because that is a normal thing that people struggle with, right? That is an age group where identity is being created. It starts a little bit earlier, right? It starts all the way down in 6th grade. Like I see that in my job, but in high school, you're still kind of like, you're still in this mode of like, who am I? What is my identity? And people, if you spend time in high school, you'll see different people trying on different identities for a while. They switch it up. That's why you have all this weird drama of like, I don't want to hang out with them. They're different now. Because that person's decided they want to be something else. And so they wear different clothes or they start listening to different music. So finding their identity is challenging. And it's a thing that all these kids are going through. And that's kind of what he's alluding to here, I think, is there's two, not to be like too cheesy about it, but there's like two ponies, right? There's like this internal artistic reading, like literary, like intelligent pony, and there's like a pony. He's kind of which one he actually is and which one he actually wants to be.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that's kind of what's coming through in some of these instances.
Yeah. Because it really is. When it says coming of age story, what's happening here? He was in a world. He is now in a totally different world where he can kind of be who he wants to be or struggles to be given the circumstances. Because he's not in the old world under the old constraints. He's in a lot of new constraints as well. But you're right. Like it is this kind of tension of which pony is he going to ultimately be, and I kind of feel like that there's obviously going to be a if not a redemption arc here, but a pony being able to actually I know this is me forecasting here into the future here and predicting of like pony getting out of the greaser life through this and being able to do something different.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That kind of does seem where I might be leading. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, but that is a thought of what is to come,
Yeah, what happens to him. But before then, we have to remember that these are children, so they ate all of their candy bars in the first 2 days. Which I was like, oh yeah, again, yeah, your kids.
Obviously, and all they're left with is stale bologna sandwiches.
And cigarettes. So,
and I'm imagining the loaf of bologna that they would have purchased, right? Because you can still find it that way sometimes, like uncut loaf of bologna.
Yeah.
And it's really just the most unappetizing thing I could possibly imagine.
Yeah. Which makes sense why
that's what they had bought.
Gets sick every time he thinks about it or even walks past it. And yeah, I can't even imagine that's all you have. Like, oh my gosh. But then Dally shows up after I jumped it, but he's like imagining again, he daydreams so much, it makes it interesting to see how he's processing, because when I see this is like in a very real aspect, when people go through extremely traumatic events, they describe it as psychologists describe it as they're looking through it with the lens of a camera in front of their face. Like they're just watching it, like they're just a bystander. They're not an active member in it, if that makes sense. Like they're just there to kind of categorize the trauma, but they're not the ones partaking in it. I forget what that's called, but you can kind of see that where he's like, I dreamed of the outside world and there was nothing real but bologna sandwiches and the Civil War. And then Dally kind of kicks him in the ribs.
As he is wont to do, right?
Uh-huh.
And then, this whole next exchange is really kind of funny because they're like, Dally, why are you looking so bad? And he's like, oh, no reason. Don't worry about it. But basically the implication is Dally got arrested because somebody got killed. And so they're like, oh, we'll arrest Dally, right? Because he's like the known thug, and he was questioned by the police for a long time. And, he was all like, I ain't seen those boys or I don't know anything about them, but I heard they might be going to Texas. Wink.
Right.
And then that was it. Like,
nice.
Smooth. So the police arrested him and questioned him over this because, the other socials that got away knew it was Johnny and Pony, but they picked up Dally because he is an associate of theirs and a super thug. So he was arrested and he just sort of like, took the brunt of that for them and sort of like pointed all the cops in the wrong way and then just sort of left. So like that was kind of a weird like thing.
Yeah. And then which I thought was, again, the 1960s cops of how you'd conduct an investigation. You just go and round up all of the known criminals and interrogate them, and then either release them or book them on some other charge that you can cook up, I guess.
Oh, yeah. It was just talking about, Dally wouldn't tell Soda where they were because he didn't want, like, number one, he's kind of like, that's what his, like, code says. Like, I ain't telling nobody anything ever. Plus, he also doesn't want Soda to then be able to, like, where he actually doesn't know where the kids are. He doesn't have to lie. He doesn't have to do any of that stuff. He doesn't have to get caught up in this, right?
Yeah.
So it's a story from Soda talking about this, and I wish you'd turn yourselves in, and you're famous. There's even the whole thing about you in the paper. So there is no doubt now that this kid did die.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big takeaway here of like, because they did that and they left. And so like you were kind of like not sure a little bit, like, did he die or was he just like really hurt? And did the cops or whatever get there in time? No, he's dead. Like this basically confirms like he's actually dead. Because, Dally even kind of like jokes with Johnny about it. He's like, well, you sure stab people. And he's like, bro, stop it. Why would you joke like that?
Oh man. Yeah. And then they go and get Dairy Queen. And eat banana splits.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Soda, like, or not soda, like Pony like goes on this tangent about like all he wants. He's like been dreaming about Pepsi. That's what he talks about. He's like, oh my God, I just wanted a Pepsi. And it made me think of that song by the Suicidal Tendencies, that institutionalized song, where there's a part of that song, if you're not like a punk rock fan, screaming like, oh, I wanted a Pepsi. I just wanted a Pepsi. Like he's and that's what made me think.
Okay.
It's like, it's Pony. Look. Yeah. And so, yeah, apparently you can get, apparently in 1960s Dairy Queen, they had barbecue sandwiches, which is very interesting. That's what I learned from this book. And just like a billion cheeseburgers and lots of Pepsi. That's what they
Uh-huh. And they just eat
anything that's not bologna, mostly, is what they wanted.
And I feel like I don't know, like, talk about burying the lead or leaving a very important aspect of this out is the whole like, oh yeah, and we're having an all-out war with the socials now, and it's bad. And I'm carrying, he says a heater. I'm assuming that's a gun now. I didn't look up the lingo for that, but I did.
Yeah, it's a gun.
Okay, so it was just like, oh yeah, glad you guys are fine.
Yes. I remember that from like noir movies, right? That's what like 1940s gangsters call guns, like a pack and heater, boys, like, you know.
Okay, well there we go. Confirmed. Fact check. And he's all like, yeah, no, we're having a war council, and kind of like just like the good old days from New York when we were fighting it out, and people are getting jumped all the time, and it's great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like. Great. This sounds like it's just really, really bad back at home.
Yeah, and it's, it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, because Dally's carrying the gun, and they're talking about like, yeah, if I was trying to find it, like, if we're having this council, just like New York, they're kind of like, well, we're gonna try to settle this once and for all. Oh yeah. If they win, things go on as usual. If we do, they stay out of our territory, but good. That's kind of the big implication. There's going to be a big rumble, and whoever wins gets like territorial claims and that. So that's kind of what they're fighting for here, is they want the socialists to leave them alone and go away.
Who wants to bet?
And then the chapter ends on the bombshell.
The bombshell. There's a.
Oh, go ahead.
We got a mole. We got a mole. Spy. Cherry. Cherry's a spy. I don't understand how she's a spy. I know I'm very confused by this, and I would like more information because it's not like she's hanging out.
It is the last line of the chapter.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't understand. Yeah. So chapter 6, I have a lot of questions. I'm like, how is she managed to operate as a spy when she's a soc and people know who she, anyway, I was like, okay, this will be interesting. Unless she's, I don't know. What.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine she's just like literal sense, like feeding information about people to them,
Yeah.
I imagine that's what it is. We'll have to find out. Because the chapter does end mid-conversation, so hopefully chapter 6 will give you some of the answers you were searching for.
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah, no, and it got me thinking about her role in this, and you're right, like it's leading to this big rumble, this fights. Who wants to bet that Cherry comes and kind of, I don't know, saves the day on the fight? Because she was in the car still or something nearby and saw the whole thing, and she can't stand to see the fight, doesn't want to see anybody get hurt, so she tells the truth and tells everything that she saw, and it saves everybody. Who's down for that? I'm down for that.
I mean, that's possible, but yeah, I'm confused about what her motivations might be.
Yes.
Why would you do that? Yeah, she realized that they were cool, and she kind of enjoyed hanging out with Johnny and Pony and Two-Bit,
Dally.
And she's in love with Dally, but like,
apparently,
why would she do this whole thing? Like, I don't really understand what her motivations for doing literally spying. So yeah, that's my big question for chapter 6 is why she made that.
Yeah.
What possible reason does she have to do that?
Right. So a lot of unanswered questions, but it's getting good. I mean, it's good. So I'm enjoying it so far.
That is true. That is true. I did like these chapters a lot more. They're real fast reads. Like I read them like in 5 seconds. It felt like so. I was like, oh, okay, well. And she does have the cliffhanger chapter ending just down to a science, right? Like
she does. It's very easy for her, like make you want to keep reading. Curses.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. Well, that's chapters 5 and 6 in the book. Literally in the book.
No, 4 and 5.
4 and 5. What did I read? Yeah.
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Yeah.
Chapters 6 and 7 next time. But yeah, we'll make it.
Next time.
6 and 7.
Hopefully we'll get some answers. Probably more questions. More foreshadowing. Payoffs to old foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully better internet next week. Sorry.
You're fine. Fine. Yeah. What do you? Why don't you go and fix those wires? Do your thing. No.
Yeah. Sorry, listeners. I apologize.
That's part of the character of the show. Is you literally never know what you're going to get. And even when we try and play
True. The raw quality.
Yeah. Raw internet in your ears.
It's fine.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good rest of your evening, and we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.